So you want to buy a portable cassette player and you don't know where to start. Let's jump into it. Why would someone buy a cassette player in 2020? One of the main reasons cassettes make sense in 2020 is because they're very cheap. And that goes for both the consumers that can benefit from a well-priced physical copy of their favorite artist, and also for the musicians who can record an album for little as 1 or 2 euros. That's exactly what portals like Bandcamp are promoting. For people who don't know, Bandcamp is a service for artists and labels to share and earn money from their music. When you buy something on their portal, whether it's digital or analog, 80% of that money goes to the artist. For example, here's a 4 cassette collection from Mitch Murder that I bought in Bandcamp and was only 35 euros. As we can see, the same collection in vinyl is more than 2 times the price as for the cassettes. The quality is actually really good, and when played on my Sony TCS1, I couldn't really tell the difference in between the MP3 or the cassette version. The noise floor was very low and the sound was very pleasing and warm. Another advantage for musicians is that they can make small runs of an album for a fraction of the money that they would spend on a release on CD or vinyl. A small batch of 50 cassettes can be sold for a good margin after a concert, or they can be even given for free to producers or fans without a substantial economic loss. Another good reason to have a cassette player is that, contrary of what most people remember, their playback quality is actually really good. Of course, there's a few things to take into consideration. Most of the recordings nowadays are on Type 1 cassettes, also known as ferric, and the sound quality of those can vary from great to really terrible. You should take your time and read reviews before buying an album. But for what I've experienced, new recordings mostly sound rather good. The question now is, which cassette player should you buy? Well, on this video I want to focus on the type of players for someone who is considering buying a portable cassette device for the first time. So we will leave out categories like the best sounding models, the most wanted collectible items, or that particular unit from a movie or so that are very difficult to find and usually very expensive. But I would like to address them anyways in future videos. Sony would be the first manufacturer you want to look at. They came out with the first Walkman in 1979, and they engineer model after model with better and better technology for more than 30 years. One of the last series of Walkmans was called WMEX, and that's my first recommendation. They released the Sony WMEX in 1994, which was a special 15th anniversary edition that enjoyed record sales, capturing a 15% market share. But many more came after that, like the beautiful WMEX5 or the popular 677, 910, etc. To find one of these models in a good condition is not that difficult, and they can go for as little as 50 euros or less if you're lucky, but some units can go for as much as 150 euros or more. What's important about this series is that pretty much all of the models sound really good. They are less prone to functioning problems due to their release date at the end of the lifespan of the cassette players. They have great features and their design can be stunning. Any of the previous models can be a great start for someone who decides to get into cassettes. Aiwa was also another top brand that made some of the best sounding portable cassette devices.
Aiwa Touch.
There's a little misconception about Aiwa. and when it came to the end of their good run and great product engineering. There's a belief that when Aiwa changed its logo for the first time in 1991 from this one to this one was because of Sony's acquisition and rebranding, and that people should avoid units with the new logo because it meant the end of Aiwa's good times. But Aiwa was already under Sony's control since 1982, when Sony acquired 54.6% of stake in the company, giving it majority control. Aiwa started to be economically troubled only during the late 90s, and after cutting half of its workforce in 2001, it was finally purchased by Sony in 2004 and became a wholly owned Sony division. That was when they rebranded Aiwa and created a new stretch logo, but by then they were not producing cassette players anymore. With this comes my second recommendation, which is the Aiwa HSPX line. The first models were introduced around 1987, like the Aiwa HSPX 10, which was presented as the world's best sounding personal stereo. Many more came down the line till the end of the 90s, like the HSPX 505, the 410, the 370, or many of them also with metal chassis, like the HSPX 717, 540, 380, etc. They are not as popular as their Sony counterpart, so they're often found with much better prices. A few months ago I bought the Aiwa HSPX 347. I found it on my local eBay for €40. It's in great condition, it has Dolby noise reduction, and I compared the sound quality to other Sony models and even to my cassette deck, and the sound is actually very pleasing. Well, that's that for my first video. If you want to get into cassette just because you have a bunch of old tapes or you want to support your favorite musician, then the Sony WM-EX or the Aiwa HSPX lines are my humble recommendation. Don't get discouraged by the Aiwa models with a new logo. Found in good condition and for a fair price, they can be a great new daily driver. I want to be clear and say that this is my recommendation for someone with a similar budget. There's a whole different level of high fidelity headphone stereos with great capabilities, but for a really high price. If you want to dig deeper into that, I'll write down a couple websites in the description down below where there's a thriving community with people sharing their knowledge in all stereo related topics. Thanks for watching. Until next time.